now listening to Chop Talk by the fan, for the fan.
Welcome back, Braves country. And for the first time in 2025, your Atlanta Braves are a winning ball club.
Yes, they are. Good stuff, good stuff.
Oh, but welcome back. This is Chop Talk by the fan, for the fan. I'm your host, Ethan.
I'm Bailey.
I just want to start tonight's episode off with, we're a winning ball club. Man, that feels good to say.
Feels really good to say. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster this year, but at the same time, it's only been a roller coaster that goes straight up, because when you start in such a rough stretch that the Braves did, there's only one way, and that's up. So that's what they've done, and so they've battled back and they've done well overall. So we're excited to see where the season continues to go.
We got a lot of big things coming this week. Strider returned tonight. We wanted to get this episode out to y'all Sunday. Just some personal things, obligations come up, and we weren't able to. And then some stuff yesterday kind of happened. So we're recording this 2 days later. We're going to try to get it to where we record at the end of a series, and as soon as we're done recording, get it uploaded to y'all so it's fresh. Happened right then, right there. But I just wanted to talk to y'all real quick about that. The Boston series came away from that with a winning series, 2-1.
Yep.
Should have been a clean sweep.
Yeah. We'll take a little dive into that later, but overall, it's a series win, and you got to be satisfied with that, I think, in my opinion, especially on the road against a team like Boston. They're, I think, one game below 500. They're beating the Mets right now, so they'll be a 500 ball club after tonight, assuming that they hold their lead against the Mets.
Did they play yesterday?
Yes, they won yesterday.
Okay, so because I know they left the series with us down 2 games.
They were down 2 games. They won last night because the Mets have actually fallen out of first place, and the Phillies are now in first place of the division.
If the Mets don't clean up that off the field stuff, they're gonna fall hard.
And that's gonna be rough for them, especially if that's what causes their team to not produce, because they're a really good team. But I think there's always the mental stuff and the off the field stuff that can cause the team to not mesh and not play the way everybody knows they can play. But anyways, back to the Red Sox. They're a good team this year.
Before we push on to that, talking about the off the field stuff, the Phillies themselves got a little off the field problems going on.
Yes, they do.
Losing their closer, Jose Alvarado.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
He profiled himself.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is with big names in the NL East this year, but that's 2 in the almost first quarter of the season receiving an 80-game suspension.
Yeah. His wasn't the HCG that Profar's was, but it was some form of testosterone. I haven't really looked into it much because I don't really care about the Phillies. But it just happened to come across my phone, and I kind of laughed at it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put that out there. So right now we really need some good winning stretches, because as it looks right now, the Mets and the Phillies could start crumbling a little bit. So we really need to capitalize.
Oh yeah,
now,
and especially the time of the season that all of this stuff with all 3 of these teams are happening is we got Strider back tonight. We're getting Acuña back very soon. So if the Mets start losing a few games here and there, and the Phillies lose a few games here and there, and the Braves take off the next couple of starts that Strider's got, and the next few weeks that Acuña gets back in the lineup, we're liable to see a 3-way tie for first place.
And if we can get within, we're 5 games back right now of the Mets. 5. Well, I think they're a half a game behind the Phillies, and now going to be a full game after tonight's loss.
Yep, because the Phillies didn't play until 8 o'clock tonight. So depending on what they do, too.
So we're 6 games behind the Phillies. If we can, get some wins here and close it up to about 2 games behind, we've basically eliminated that 0-7 start in our division. And then we've got the rest of the year to win ball games and get back in the first place. And
remember, we're still in May.
It's
not even Memorial Day weekend yet. So there's a lot of baseball to be played. So that it's shaping up to be a really fun rest of the season. But back to the Boston series. We went on the road this past weekend in Boston. They're a good ball team. They've got some good pitching. They've got some great hitters. So to come out of an away series in Boston with a 2-1 series win, I think that's really big.
Real big. Sale started game 1, first time back in Fenway Park since he left Boston in the offseason in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Became a Brave. That was obviously an emotional start for him. Especially going back.
He made the most of his opportunity, though.
He had a beautiful start. I mean, a gem of a game. But obviously going to be emotional for him because everyone knows he was the reason they won that 2018 World Series.
Yeah.
Just, it's one of them things you go back to a team you won a World Series with. Obviously, it's not going to be the emotional Freddie Freeman last season, but still, he's got a lot of time there.
Yeah.
A lot of passion for Boston, just like most people do that come out of Boston because unlike New York, Boston has a very loyal fan base. So, but he came out and he did what he needed to do. Threw an absolute gem of a game. Just a gem. He ended up get a quality start, which that's something we're going to touch on here in a little bit, is these quality starts we've been having in the month of May. Got a quality start, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, only 1 earned run, 2 free passes, 8 strikeouts with a 3.62 ERA.
Yep. So he is he's done very good at getting his ERA down. I think after his first couple starts, we were seeing him in the upper 5s, right around a 6. And probably his last 3 starts have been very, very good. And he's worked his ERA down to a 3.62. So he's done great. And that's something we talked about, too, about him. Just we did see a couple things early on that weren't really alarming, but it was kind of like, okay, what's going to happen after this? And he's gotten it under control, and he's done really well his last few starts. So
he left the game with a 2-1 lead in the 7th. And in the 8th, me and you were talking. We were like, who do we like to see right here? I would have personally liked to have seen PJ and then go Daysbell. We pulled Daysbell out of the pen. Daysbell threw great. He only gave up, when I say gave up, he didn't really give up nothing. He only gave up a walk. That's it.
Yeah.
He didn't give up a single hit, a run. He had 1 strikeout, lowering his ERA to a 1.8.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the top of the 9th, the Red Sox gave up 5 straight walks to give the Braves a 4-1 lead. And me and you both talked about, oh, God, here we go. Going to go to Iglesias. And trying to be, I don't know the word I'm looking for, I guess.
Hopeful.
Optimistic.
You have to be hopeful.
Hopeful, optimistic that he would, but if it wasn't for the Red Sox, 5 straight walks giving us 2 runs, he would have blown that safe.
Yeah.
He came in, he gave up a run, which is expected out of him at this point. So he went 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 strikeout, and raised his ERA to a 5.89.
But he got the save.
He did get the save.
Got the save. So that's something positive to look at is, yes, he gave up a run. Yes, it wasn't a complete, clean inning, perfect, what we're used to seeing from him in the past. But there's always, I feel like there should always be something positive to take out of it. And the positive out of that is he got the save. He did give up a run, but he didn't give up 3 runs to blow the save. So that's my take on it.
But going back to Chris Sale, if I was him personally, I'd go to the boys in the lineup and be like, hey, do y'all got something against me?
Yeah.
Or do y'all just not want to hit when I pitch?
He doesn't get a whole lot of run support.
The only run support he got was when Murphy and Olsen went back-to-back.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
We went 7 for 32 on the night, 1 and 4 runners in scoring position.
Yep.
That's his biggest problem. He can't get no run support.
No. And you want to see good run support when you've got a future Hall of Famer on the mound, because at the beginning of the game, he's definitely a guy that's like, you think you can win any game against any team anytime he's on the mound. So to not get that run support, it's kind of, I don't want to say discouraging, but it's kind of uneasy to accept that, especially knowing how good our lineup can hit at times. But we ended up coming away with a win on Friday night, 4-2. So we started off the road series great, getting the first game of the series. And game 2 looked great.
Game 2 looked
Game
really
2
good.
looked really good.
Until it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Holmes followed up Chris L with another quality start, going 6 innings, allowing 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, striking out 5, and knocking his ERA down to a 4.01. The offense collected 13 hits, so really good night at the plate for the lineup.
Holmes left the mound with a 6-2 lead.
And then we gave up 5 unanswered runs. I don't think we scored since we didn't score after the 4th inning.
We didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't score after the 4th.
4th inning, okay, yeah. So that was, game 2 was.
We made some questionable decisions at the manager role.
Yeah.
With the lineup we had and how potent Boston's 1 and 2 is in Duran and Devers.
Mm-hmm.
2 just monster lefties at the plate back to back.
Yeah.
We came out and we did the right thing coming out of the pen and went lefty to face them.
Yeah.
Because
it was the start of the was it the 7th?
It was the 7th. No,
yes,
it was the start of the 7th because he went 6
6.
innings.
Yeah.
So we came out with Aaron Bummer.
Yeah, and then that was something we had talked about before the game. We were thinking, hey, if you're coming up to this 1-2, in Duran and Devers, 2 lefties in a row, you got to go lefty. Well, at the beginning of the 7th inning, they had their 9-1-2. Okay, go with Bummer, face the righty in the 9 hole, got him. Then you've got 2 lefties. I like those odds.
I did too. Unfortunately, Bummer really didn't have his best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He did let Duran and Devers get on.
Yeah.
And then we made a very questionable choice in going De Los Santos to face the righties. We ended up going with PJ later in the night. I personally thought we should have went PJ first righty arm out of the pen.
Yeah.
To face those righties.
And if that's one of those things, like, and we've talked before about preparation and knowing who's available on any given night, if you know PJ's going to throw in that game, why not bring him in to get out of that 7th inning jam to keep the 6-2 lead? As soon as those 2 guys get on, and obviously Bummer was brought in to face the lefties, as soon as he gets past those lefties and you're thinking about going with a righty, to me, PJ's got to be the first righty out of the pen.
Without a doubt. And unfortunately,
because he had 1 out. If he could have gone in there and threw 3 pitches and got a double play ball, and then now he can actually go a full 8th inning and then go into the 9th with Scott Blewett, who also didn't pitch in Game 2 against Boston, but his last appearance was a week before that game in Pittsburgh, and we didn't see him.
No, we didn't.
But
we went with our worst 2 right arms besides the Glacius in our pen, come out with De Los Santos, and first batter he sees is a 2-run double. I mean, it is what it is. First guy he sees, 2-run double, then gets out of the inning, gets 2 outs. But he's already let up 2, so we're looking 6-4.
Going into the 8th. And
then we go into the 8th, and it's like, okay, fine, he's done, whatever. We still have the lead. Let's go to
Montero.
No, not Montero. Let's go to our righties that are good. Blewett, PJ. No, we don't. We go Montero. Montero comes in, and he gives up 2 hits and 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. And so it's like, well, great. There goes all of our lead. They've tied it up 6-6.
And we eventually did bring Pierce Johnson in to finish that inning. When you're on the road and you've already gotten Game 1 of the series, you're on the verge of finishing 17 games in a row. Go ahead and finish this game that you've got the lead in, and that secures that series win. if you go Bummer, PJ, then blew it and finish that 6-2 win, whether it ended up being 6-2 or 6-3, 6-4, 6-5, whatever. If you finish that win, you've won the series.
No.
And now Sunday, I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter, but there's not as much pressure there because you've won the series. You're going into Sunday up 2 games in the series, and I'm. It sounds like I'm talking about a playoff series when we say it like that, but that's kind of what it boils down to.
When you start 0-7.
That's right. You want to win the series.
That's
and
the biggest factor in getting back to a winning ball club like we finally have and being able to play for the playoffs.
Yeah.
You've got to win a series. So, yeah, you've got to treat every series like a playoff series to get to a position to play in the playoffs.
Yep. But eventually, Pierce Johnson came in and finished the inning in the 8th, and then threw 2 pitches in the 9th.
Yeah, they stayed out with him in the 9th, and we were together watching this game, and we both had the same thought. You're going up against one of the most potent lefties right now at the time, Rafael Devers, who is a off-speed hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Pierce Johnson is a off-speed pitcher.
Devers has actually hit a backside off-speed pitch home run tonight, so he's seeing the ball well. That's no secret.
Yeah, and so PJ throws 2 pitches to him, and he walks the game off for his first career walk-off home run.
So now the series is tied 1-1, and you're thinking, well, we blew that. Now we've got to win tomorrow just to win the series, which thankfully we did. Offense showed up, got 16 hits on Sunday, scored 10 runs.
Thankfully, the offense did, because no offense to Swelly, but he did not have a good start.
Not at first.
Not at first. It did not start off good.
The 4 runs he gave up was on a grand slam, also by Devers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like he got shelled and gave up a bunch of doubles that scored a bunch of runs. I mean, he got in a jam with the bases loaded, gave up a grand slam, but he went 7 innings.
He did finish out
So,
strong.
I mean, he finished strong, but it was a little worrisome right at the beginning of the game. The second time through the order, giving up that grand slam.
And then we finally brought in the 2 guys who we said should have came in, Dylan Lee and Scott Blewett.
Mm-hmm. Both going 1 inning.
Giving up 1 hit apiece.
And both getting 1 strikeout apiece.
And no runs and no walks.
Yep. No. So they looked good on Sunday. Finished the game 10-4. Got the series win. Like we both said, we kind of thought that should have been a sweep. But it also goes back to that. Had Montero, De Los Santos, and Bummer all stepped on the mound Saturday night, they all could have pitched their best outing of the year, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
And that's true.
But we're seeing the same stuff, though.
Over and over again. So it's not like we're coming out here and trashing a guy for throwing 1 bad time. No, this has been a consistent factor.
Yeah. And I was kind of curious because, I mean, we sat here and we kind of talked about this with our heads tilted to the side a little bit, watching it live. I went back and kind of looked on some social media pages and comments and some posts and everything, and there was not a lot of people in the fan base that appreciated the bullpen lineup on Saturday. And I know that's not saying a whole lot because you don't need their permission for Snit to go with who he thinks should be in the game. So, in a way, that doesn't matter. But at the same time, we're not the only ones that are kind of sitting here with a couple of question marks going through our brain. So, it's kind of, I don't know, I guess you got to take it with a grain of salt. But that did sting a little bit because I think that was definitely a series that could have been a sweep and really got us on track for a big win streak.
Yeah, me and you kind of sat here, like you said, with our heads tilted, and we had some company.
Yeah.
Over here, so we kind of had to keep our mouths in check per se. And then once everybody got gone is when we kind of let it loose and we're like, what in the crap did we just watch?
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
But overall, in the month of May, the Braves have looked fantastic.
It was good to see some people who have been having some rough goes here lately get some multi-hit games. in Olsen. Olsen had a good series. Verdugo had 3 hits on Sunday. That was good to see out of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's been having a little bit of a slow here last little bit. But in the month of May, we're winning ball club in the month of May.
Yeah.
We're 3 games as of Sunday's game. We're 3 games above 500 for the month of May. We're 10-7 in the month of May before the Washington series started. We have outscored them 70-58. So it's been better this month. Obviously, we had a good April.
Yep.
And as long as we win, we're 1 game above 500. Each month we play, like Bailey said a couple episodes ago, we'll end up winning 87, 88 games.
Yeah.
So we're on track to finish strong. We got to keep it going. Obviously, we still got some decent matchups to finish out the month of May. We face the Nationals away, go back home and face the Padres, and then we finish it out at home against Boston, I believe. Let me check. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We go back on the road to face the Phillies, and then back home to finish out the month of May against Boston. So that'll be. We really need to win the Washington series, and really need to win that, win the Padres, and win. Or we need to win that, win the Boston series, and win either the Padres series or the Phillies series.
One of the two.
One of the two.
Preferably both. But they're both big series. One's against a division rival. One's against one of the best teams in the league. So we've got some tough matchups coming up.
For the most part, we've been singing some praises of the bullpen, but I'd like to give a shout out to our starting rotation
Oh, yeah.
and what they have done in the month of May.
Rotation's been fantastic.
In the month of May alone, for the National League, the Braves starting rotation are first in ERA with 2.52, innings per start with 6.0, strikeouts with 97, opposing average 213, and quality starts 11 through 16 games.
Yeah. And for those of y'all that don't know what a quality start is, that's not just a term that we're just kind of just pulling out of the air, just saying, oh, they pitched well, let's call it a quality start. No, a quality start is an actual
Statistical.
It's a statistical term that is used around the league. It is defined as a starting pitcher going 6 or more complete innings pitched, allowing 3 or fewer earned runs. So that's kind of, when you think about that, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
If you give up 3 runs or less as a starting pitcher and you've pitched 2/3 of the game, that's quality.
Your team should be in a good spot to win the ball game.
Yep. And if you don't win the ball game, then that goes back to your offense. That's the only way to put it, in my opinion. But a quick comment I want to make about offense was I'm going to give Snit some props. Last week on Thursday to finish the first national series at home, they played a day game, and Snit put Drake Baldwin in the 2-hole.
That was a great call.
I really like that call, not only because he's been hitting well, but because he's athletic.
Mm-hmm.
He can be in that 2-hole at the top of the lineup and be on base, ready to run with the ball hitting the gap. He can hit it hard with the bottom of the order getting on base or your leadoff guy getting on base. So I will give him that. That was a very good call. I love to see it. And Baldwin showed up. He showed up for it. He ended up going 3 for 4 that game with an RBI. He's been hitting great all year. We've talked about it since day one. He initially, to begin the year, he was kind of just getting unlucky, but he's been hitting it hard all year. So I want to continue to give Baldwin some props, but also want to give Snit some props there for exploring that lineup option. I did like to see that.
And it's funny because the night before I'd come over here because we were trying to get some stuff uploaded and work on getting stuff on Spotify and Apple, just more past just YouTube to get more out to y'all. And me and you should have just hit record on the conversation we had.
It was supposed to be a short little meeting, and we ended up sitting here for about 3 hours just talking nonstop baseball.
Yeah. And we should have just hit record on that. But we went through a lot of lineup scenarios possibilities.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we both kept talking about with lineups, we would like to see Baldwin in the 2-hole when he's in. And funny enough, that next day, you text me and you go, hey, check the lineup. And there's Baldwin in that 2-hole.
Yep.
And, I mean, he absolutely played.
Yeah. And continuing on Baldwin, I was listening this past weekend to Alex Anthopoulos talking to some of the media. And when you think about a young guy like Baldwin that plays a specific position, anywhere on the field, you've got a guy that can play his primary position, but he can probably play at least one more because a lot of positions are very similar. If you got a guy that can play third, he can probably play first. If you got a guy that can play short, he can play second. If you got a guy that can play center field, he can play anywhere in the outfield.
Without a doubt.
And if you got a guy that can play right field, he can play left field. Some left fielders can play center field. Most guys have other options to where if they're hitting well, but they're not going to get that start in their primary position, you can find a place for them on the field. Well, and it's been done before, not just with young catchers, but older catchers as well. I mean, you think about Joe Mauer at the end of his career with the Twins, he ended up going to first base. Buster Posey, we saw him play a little first base at the end of his career.
Even more recent, Bryce Harper playing first base for the Phillies.
Bryce Harper going to first base with the Phillies, coming in from the outfield. But back to the Braves, we saw Evan Gattis go to left field.
I forgot about that.
When we still had Brian McCann behind the plate. Those were two good bats, but two good catchers. Well, you can only have one catcher, so we saw Evan Gattis go to left field. So
obviously, Baldwin has the arm.
He's got the arm, and he's got the athleticism. But that question was kind of brought to Alex Anthopoulos' attention, and he said, of the possibility of Drake Baldwin playing left field to keep his bat in the lineup, he said that had not even been discussed. Not been discussed in the front office, not been discussed in the clubhouse, not been discussed amongst the coaching staff. Not that they have said no, but it's not even been a conversation. And the way he described it was not that, and these are in his words exactly, he said, and it's not to say that they're right and everybody else is wrong for maybe thinking that or wishing that. It's just being the young catcher he is, he still has a lot to learn even when he's not in the lineup as far as calling the games and working with the pitching staff in the dugout and, everything like that.
And I think because of that, and they're leaning towards he's going to be the future of the Braves catching position.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep him back there as much as possible, and I get that and learning. But he's our best bat.
Yeah.
I mean, he's batting over 300. Only guy in the lineup batting over 300.
Mm-hmm.
We need him in the lineup for his bat.
Yeah.
And when he's in the lineup for his bat, that extra lefty, we've got, because of Albies being a switch hitter, the amount of lefties we have, on most given nights, depending on who's pitching, righty or lefty, we can have it to where our batting lineup is rotating or switching between righty and lefty
every bat.
And that makes it so hard for an opposing team to try to preload their pitching staff that night and how they're going to hit their bullpen.
Yeah.
Because now you don't have, righty, lefty to bring in a guy. Because if you bring in a lefty to face the first lefty, well, then you've got a righty right after.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he don't get that lefty, he's got to face a lefty, and the righty again.
Yep.
And vice versa.
And depending on where Ozzie Albies is in the lineup, if for some reason a team decides to go lefty out of the pen and you face a righty, and the next one is Ozzie Albies, well, he's going to hit from the right side. The next guy could be a righty, so you could bring in a lefty pitcher facing three righties in a row.
Yeah.
I mean,
for Ozzie, but in strictly Ozzie.
Yeah.
But we just got to have Baldwin's bat in the lineup. And even if that means we have to move Marcel out of the DH spot some nights. And that's a hot take. I don't care. I'm going to give my honest opinion on something that I believe in. Because right now, the Braves and the NL have 1 and 2 for Rookie of the Year right now.
Yep.
And Drake Baldwin at number 1 and A.J. Smith-Shawver at number 2.
Yep.
For Rookie of the Year standings. I think we need to personally get as much out of Drake Baldwin as possible.
Yep.
Because he's not somebody that needs time behind and learning. when he is in the game, he's producing. And he's showing that, and I think we need to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and that's the only bad thing about having two good catchers on your roster is because you no longer have that franchise catcher and then your role guy that gives your starter, 1 or 2 days of rest per week. When you've got two guys like Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin, you want both of them in the lineup, but you can't have both of them in the lineup as long as Marcell is in the lineup as a DH. I'm not saying Marcell should be moved out of the DH spot, but we've only got that one catcher position. One of those guys is going to have to sit the bench. We've seen it the last couple of years with Darno and Murphy, and now we're seeing it with Murphy and Baldwin. So it may not even be this year, but just Murphy's a good catcher. Baldwin's a good catcher. Baldwin's hitting very well at 24 years old. There's two different paths to take with those two guys, and necessarily I don't think either one is the wrong choice. I think it's just going to be a big gamble on either one of them.
And which is why I said the thing I did about the designated hitter in Ozuna, switching it to Baldwin, because I'm not saying nothing against Murph. I love Murph. Murph is great behind the plate. Murph hits well. That's just the problem when you have two great catchers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I think, hey, Ozuna, he's hitting better than he has in prior years, especially with his eye.
Yeah.
But we've got a guy hitting even better that we need in the lineup.
Exactly.
And you don't have to do it every time Murph's behind the plate, but one game out of a series, Murph's behind the plate.
Throw
Baldwin in there.
Yeah.
One time. Especially if you've got a righty pitcher.
Yeah.
As much as Snit loves the matchups, if you got a righty starter, throw Baldwin in there.
Yep.
And then if they go to a lefty, then you can put in Ozuna to pitch hit for him.
There's nothing to say you can't pitch hit Ozuna later in the game, and not even just for Baldwin in the DH spot, but if you need a right-handed bat when they bring in a lefty to face Verdugo, have Marcell Ozuna pinch hit for Verdugo against that lefty, and then when you go out on defense, throw Stuart Fairchild out there in the outfield. I mean, there's a lot of options to explore to get the most productivity out of Drake Baldwin, especially with how well he has been hitting. I mean, he's proven time after time that he deserves a shot to stay in the everyday lineup.
And obviously we're not the Braves analysts, but we have a pretty good grasp on the game of baseball, being as between the two of us, we've got over 20 years played in the game.
A little bit of coaching experience as well.
A little bit of coaching with especially Bailey over here. He's full-blown coach right now.
Ooh.
And that's kind of taken up a little bit of time. Well, that's what led into the delay on this, which nothing against him. I'm glad for him. Might be working it out where I'll be his assistant coach here shortly. So, we're hard into the game of baseball.
Yeah. And we're not trying to sit here and brag on ourselves, but we are big fans and we do have high hopes. But we also I think we both do a good job at studying the game as well. Mm-hmm. Not just the Braves, but around the league in general and the way the game is played today. So that's just kind of our opinion of where we come from whenever we make these opinions and these suggestions. And we also just have to have something to talk about.
That is very true. Another thing to talk about is what was the point of bringing up Dylan Dodd to not try him one time?
Yeah,
because that was another thing we talked about.
Because we both liked it.
We did. We both literally that other night we were both sitting here talking about we need another lefty arm in the bullpen. That is what we need.
Yep.
And so we were like, well, we got two good lefty arms in our minors. Let's bring one of them up, especially with Strider coming back. We sent
Elder.
We sent Elder. So it was like, okay, perfect time. We have an open spot, bring in a lefty bullpen. Well, lo and behold, we wake up the next morning, boom, they've done exactly what we thought. Cool, great. Let's put him. Let's see what he can do. This is a perfect time to. We never use him one time.
Yeah.
And so then coming into today, I was like, okay, well, I guess, I personally would have liked to see Montero get DFA'd and keep Dylan Dodd up that lefty arm. I mean, Montero has not thrown good. It is what it is.
No, he hasn't.
It's nothing personal. He just has not thrown good.
Yeah, he hasn't been what you want. And if this early in the year, if you're not expecting him to really be that guy, then I'm all for somebody getting reps. I'm all for somebody getting their opportunity to get comfortable at the major league level. I think Dodd I think that's a good option, especially being a lefty. I mean, it's just hard for me to go against that.
But to bring up a guy and then just like, okay, well, cool, you got to sit in the MLB bullpen for a weekend in Boston. Now go back to Gwinnett. We don't need you. I mean, what was the point of that? Like, I get you're filling the 25-man roster. If we'd have needed him, cool. But if you're going to bring that guy up, let him see an inning.
Yeah.
One inning. And they just never did. And so we didn't get to see
and
that opportunity of another lefty arm out of our bullpen.
It wasn't like all 3 games were one-run games. I mean, 2 of them were. One of those 2 should not have been. But anyways, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But Sunday was a 10-4 blowout. He could have got an inning on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
If the purpose of bringing him up was to just be there because we were going on our 17th game in a row in 17 days, fine. But if the possibility is there for him to be on the roster later this year, he needs to get some innings. He needs to get some mound time. He needs to get comfortable with the guys behind the plate.
I just think it was a wasted opportunity, what happened this weekend.
Yeah, because remember, the every time a guy is pulled up and then optioned back down, that's a strike on his contract where he's only got so many of those in his career. So you're kind of, I'm not going to say wasting his contract because you're not, but
you burned him.
You're burning a portion of his contract in a sense.
It's just, back like playing games like Snicker likes to do, or take back in high school, where you could do the double move, bring a guy in a pinch run, then pull him back out, and that guy go back in, you burn the dude. Yeah. That's basically kind of what they did to Dodd. They kind of burned him.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of it. Me and you kind of went over it the other night. We only got 2 lefty arms in our bullpen.
Yep.
And that's something we'd like to see is another lefty arm. And
also in the rotation, we'd also like to see another lefty in the rotation because the only lefty we've got in the rotation right now is Chris Sale. So you see Chris Sale, well, for the next 4 games, your opponent's seeing a righty.
And all righties. And me and you kind of threw some hypotheticals out there of who we'd like to see trade for come trade deadline, trying to get some lefty arms, because I think right now at the shortstop position, we've talked a lot about Bo and everything, but Nacho Alvarez comes off the IL Friday also.
And I think there's a good chance they'll extend that. I don't know when they said they're expecting him back, but I think that Friday is just when the 60-day IL that he was originally put on ends. I think he'll be put back on for probably 30 days or so. But he is expected to be back before the All-Star break.
And that's something I'd like to see. Bring him up, see what he can do at the shortstop position, and let us know, do we have our next franchise shortstop in this guy, or do we need to go ahead and chase that down?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're not planning on trading for a premier shortstop this year at the deadline, Nacho has to be on the roster as soon as he comes back. Because even if he's going to do nothing but sit the bench, that's exactly what Orlando Arcia has done. If you're not planning on holding on to Arcia, go ahead and get rid of him. Get Nacho on the roster, get him some at-bats, get him some innings on the field. Like I said a few minutes ago, I'm a big believer in reps. I mean, Nacho coming up, and even if he's not playing every day or even starting a lot, if he's getting any reps at all, he's going to become a better player. So, I mean, what do you do if you do decide to go that route and keep Nacho?
If it was me and we decided to keep Nacho, that's an easy decision. We chase a lefty arm at the trade deadline. We trade a big lefty arm. Personally, I was kind of liked how Garrett Crochet threw for the Sox against Sale.
Yeah.
That lefty with that big old leg kick, he threw great. I kind of threw the Kyle Freeland to you the other day,
And I
just
really
when we were
like-
spitballing.
I really like the Kyle Freeland.
And my only downfall with Kyle Freeland is that he's a known hothead,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how he would mesh in the Braves clubhouse because that's not something we want to bring in. You know, everybody talks about Trevor Bauer being a clubhouse cancer, this and that. Well, if you're going to say that about him, stick to your ground and don't bring a guy in that might be a clubhouse cancer.
Exactly.
So that's my only downfall with him, but he was the first popped in my mind. In doing that, though, his contract does run through the 28, I believe.
With Freeland.
Yeah, Freeland.
I believe that's right.
I believe it's the 2028 season.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we'd be on the hook for him for a little while. That's another thing with Crochet. His runs through the 2031 season.
Yep.
So these would be big arms trading forward that we'd have to plan on keeping a while.
Right.
And most of the time, you know, your trade deadline guys, generally speaking,
They're rental players.
rental players because they're on their final year of their contract.
You're not holding any kind of obligation, and you're not really locked to them.
Yeah.
You know, you're just getting them for that year.
But if we're going to go the Nacho route, I'd like to see us trade for a big lefty arm in the starting rotation. Not out of the bullpen, in the starting rotation. And then we could always still, come off season, venture out. If, okay, we get through the Nacho and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, maybe we do want to go with a veteran shortstop instead, then we can, you know, look around at that Bo stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be a free agent.
Mm-hmm. Assuming that he doesn't get traded and sign a contract with somebody else, we're assuming Toronto doesn't extend his contract.
Which is a gamble because more than likely he's going to be shipped at the trade deadline if they haven't already re-signed him.
Yep.
So it's unless they are in playoff contention, and then they may not.
Yep.
But it's a big gamble. It all is. But me personally, if we're going to go the Nacho route, that's what I would like to see out of AA, out of the organization, come trade deadline. Show me that you've got your head screwed on straight and fill that hole that we need, which is a lefty arm.
Yep.
Now, in doing so, that means one of our 5 in our rotation would have to come out. And I'm going to put that, I know my answer, but I'm going to let you talk on that for a second.
Well, it's not going to be Chris Sale.
No, obviously not.
It's not going to be Spencer Strider. So if you got Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, you say you do get that lefty in the rotation. Now that's 3 spots filled.
Now you're left to fill the other 2 spots.
You've got 2 spots with Schwelly, AJ Smith-Shawver, and Grant Holmes. At the beginning of the year, it was all Schwellenbach in the rotation.
Yeah,
The last couple of weeks, it's been all AJ.
without a doubt.
And even with AJ carrying the team low ERA, below 2.5, Schwelly's still not throwing bad. And Grant Holmes isn't throwing bad. Grant Holmes is right at a even 4 ERA, but Grant Holmes does have that experience in the bullpen. He pitched a lot of innings in relief last season, so that's a facet of the game that he's familiar with. I don't think it would be a major adjustment for him. And who knows, it may be something that he excelled better at. I mean, because there's some guys, they're just better relievers than they are starters and vice versa. So me personally, if we did do that, I would move Grant Holmes to the bullpen.
Okay, so we agree.
So so if you do move Grant Holmes to the bullpen, well, who's coming out of the bullpen? Who's getting traded? Who's getting sent down? Who's getting released? Who's getting placed on waivers?
Well, that's simple for me. If our bullpen stays as it is right now, I'm getting rid of Montero.
Yeah.
If you take our bullpen as it is right now, Montero over. Because I'm still going to give Iglesias his chance.
Yeah.
And obviously we got Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah.
And some other things. But it's Montero as it stands right now. De Los Santos, yes, he's had his bad outing, but he's been a lot better than Montero.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against, and none of these players that we say anything like that about, we have nothing against them.
Oh, no.
We're looking strictly statistical on it.
Strictly business.
Strictly business. I like Rafael Montero when he pitches good,
Yeah.
but he just hasn't.
Yeah.
So it's nothing personal with anybody. It is strictly business.
Yeah. And there's another name that you just threw in there. The Braves legend, Craig Kimbrell. say we bring him up, which, by the way, he is pitching great
Oh, he's pitching
in the
tail
minors.
off.
We're going to touch on him here in a little bit. But if you were to bring him up, whose spot is he going to take?
If Iglesias don't step up, Iglesias. I think Iglesias is no better than is. Let me word that right. Sorry, because that was not going to be worded correctly. Iglesias is a closer, and I think that's the only role out of the bullpen that he could pitch.
He's either an 8 or a 9 inning guy.
So with bringing that next closer in, I don't really see a good fit for him in the bullpen. Unless you wanted to kind of have him as your 8 guy. But personally, me, that's Daysbel Hernandez is our 8 guy.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that spot's taken with a guy that has proven himself.
Well, and another thing, too, with these specific setup innings that guys are kind of holding those roles is Snit has shown some consistency with what guys he likes to pitch together as far as Bummer, PJ, or Lee Blewett. There's a certain, and I don't know if it's just the games we've been in and it's all just kind of been coincidental, but there has been multiple games where Snit has sent the same relievers out there, and then vice versa the next day. So it could be where, on a Friday night game, you see Daysbel in the 8th, and then on a Saturday game, since Daysbel threw the 20 pitches the day before, you see Iglesias in the 8th.
And I wouldn't hate that. But at the same time, I guess it would be De Los Santos I'd take out then, if you're going to go that route.
That's who I was thinking.
Because you can't take out Bummer or Lee.
No.
We got to have our lefties.
You got to have your lefties.
I'm not getting rid of PJ or Blewett.
No.
So that leaves
De Los Santos.
De Los Santos if you're gonna keep Iglesias up. So to me, that is just what I would do personally. Yeah. And Snit, I want to kind of touch on something you just said with Snit. That's kind of just been his MO this year. He's not really had a game plan in a game other than here's what I'm going to do before the game starts, and I'm not going to make a game time decision here. It's more of this is the 3 guys I throw together, so that's what we're going to do no matter what.
I can get on board with that.
And it's kind of like me and you kind of talked a little bit previously because we were watching the Nationals game beforehand. Snit he pinch hits a lot, and he pinch runs a lot. And some of those decisions that he makes are almost like I'm pinch hitting just to show I've done something tonight. It doesn't really feel like it's a calculated move sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels more of I'm just going to pinch hit right here to make it look like I've done something tonight because I haven't done much tonight.
Yeah, we're in the 8th inning, and it's a left-handed pitcher against Verdugo, so I'm going to pinch hit a righty because it looks like a strategic move. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that is fair to say, but it also kind of goes back to your gut feeling. I mean, it goes back to pinch hitting Eddie Rosario for Eli White after he had already got 2 hits that night. That's not the right play there, in my opinion. Tonight we saw Stuart Fairchild pinch hit for Verdugo when they brought in a lefty, when Washington brought in a lefty. I didn't necessarily agree with that. One, because Fairchild ended up getting a single, so good for him. He got a nice base hit. But 2, Verdugo was 0 for tonight. So it's not like he's been killing the ball. So there's sometimes I'm not against it, but then there are some times where it's like, let's tug on the reins a little bit sometimes.
Because it wasn't, yes, I get you're trying to get some speed on, but at the same time, that one guy's not going to win the game. We're down 2 runs.
He's not going to tie the game. Let's win the game.
Tie the game or win the game.
And by the way, he ended up getting out on a double play the very next batter in Austin Riley. So
kind of wasted.
It was wasted, but it was kind of like we tried it. We couldn't get a ball in the gap to score him. So, it is what it is.
But it kind of comes down to a lot of those double moves he makes. It's like we're in these 1-run ball games. If we go into extras, what are you going to do? Because you've already basically cleared the bench. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do?
I mean, the only other speed you'd have on the bench after that would be Luke Williams.
Yeah. But back to Craig Campbell. Sorry, I wanted to touch on that a second because it's something that's kind of just had a lot of thoughts on.
Yeah.
Because we think about all facets of the game and how it's played. But back to Craig Campbell, he is thrown 13 games this season so far with a 1.38 ERA through 13 innings pitched. So he's coming out there, he's giving an inning every time he comes in, doing great. 15 strikeouts with a .92 whip. You can't really ask for no better. Yes,
Oh, God, no.
Yes, he's in minors, so he's not facing MLB talent. But still, he is absolutely dealing.
He's facing partial MLB talent. I mean, you got to give those AAA guys some props. I mean, so a lot of those guys are good enough to be at the MLB level. They just haven't gotten there yet, or there just isn't room on their affiliates roster at the time.
Oh, I completely agree. But I know there's somebody out there going to be listening going, well, that's because he's facing AAA guys. Because they don't...
Yeah.
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 So I just wanted to clarify
I don't care who you are, if it's rookie ball, single A, or D3 college pitchers.
Yeah. If you're
if you're throwing 95 miles an hour a day, you're doing something. I mean, it's hard to hit a baseball. It's the hardest game in the world. So the people that sit at home and say, "Oh, well, it's single A or it's rookie ball," that doesn't really matter because baseball's hard.
Baseball's extremely hard.
It's a hard game. So he's doing well. His name, I think, has been talked about, has been brought up a lot more in probably the last 2 weeks. But I think they're trying to, they're taking that one slow. But I think we'll see something with him, and probably by end of June maybe. I think that's when we'll see him.
Hopefully before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think you got to get him in there before the All-Star break, because right after the All-Star break, you've got about a week and a half before the trade deadline. You need to see him before then, because if you bring him up right after the All-Star break, he doesn't have much time to do much for you before the All-Star break for you to really evaluate your depth and your roster and your bullpen and your rotation and everything like that. So I think he does need to be up within probably the next month to get some outings and to get some eyes on him from our team and also around the league as well.
Well, I'm going to throw one thing at you before we wrap this up. Speaking of the All-Star game, Drake Baldwin, you think he makes his first All-Star game in his rookie year?
I would love for him to, but I don't think he's got enough at bats.
Yeah, that's the only part with the splitting time, but he still does. He's got, I think his average is around 340 right now.
Yeah.
Still one of the best averages in the league.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be like, well, this guy hasn't batted enough. Well, when he's batted, he's put the work in.
Oh, yeah.
When he's batted, he has produced when he's been in the lineup. So I don't think you can really hinder a guy for that. But it's also, fan voting.
Yeah, that's true too. I
Which
mean,
I do not like.
yeah.
I think it should be strictly statistical with as much.
Oh, yeah.
With as much stats as we have in the game now, we can literally measure a guy and say how many wins above replacement he is than the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the All-Star game should go down the list of pitchers, catchers, and first every position.
Yeah.
And the guy with the most WAR at the All-Star break should be on the All-Star team.
Oh yeah. He's Drake Baldwin is playing great, like we've emphasized many times throughout the season so far. But get back to his amount of time playing. He's only got 90 plate appearances so far this year, and that's in 48 games. Mm-hmm. So he's averaging less than 2 plate appearances per Braves game. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only reason he doesn't make the All-Star game. I'd love for him to, but unless they, for some reason, wake up in the morning and decide to make him the everyday catcher, and he continues to hit while getting all the at-bats he needs to kind of put him there comparable to the guys that play every day, I don't think it'll happen this year. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that he still has hit the ball well this year. He's getting a lot better behind the plate. We've seen his throwdowns to second get better pretty much every time he throws the ball.
Oh yeah,
he's gotten better every time. Like since the first one we saw, each one has gradually gotten better, and that's something to look forward to.
And that
for
just
him.
comes back to reps.
Exactly. That just goes back to playing more and more, and learning more and more.
Finish this one off. As of today, going into today's game, we have the 5th best record in baseball since April 4th at 24-16.
Mm-hmm.
We're 8 games above 500, taking away the 0-7 start.
Yep. And unfortunately, we did take an L tonight against the Nationals, 5-3. It was Strider's first game back. He did get hit around a little bit, but something we both looked at earlier in the game. This was not on his 70th pitch. This was like his 20th pitch. He was sitting right around 94, 95 on his fastball, which is 2 mile an hour lower than his average fastball in 2023, the last time he pitched a full season. I don't think he's throwing 100%.
I don't either, and that's what I told you. I was like, I don't think he's throwing 100%. Obviously, they had him on an inning or a pitch count tonight, which we believe was 75.
Yeah, he pitched exactly 75 pitches. So I think they had that pitch count range kind of in the back of their mind going into this. I don't think he was going to go deep to begin with, unless he got like 2 pitch outs the entire game.
Unless he had a no-no going.
Right.
But obviously, last time he started, after a start, he got injured. So I think they were just taking him a little slower. Just, hey, go out there, just see what happens. So I don't really think going into this game, we were looking a win. I think it was more of a, this is your first start back. What happens, happens.
Yeah.
We go from there.
Yeah. Now, props to the Nationals. They come up tonight. They hit a lot of first pitch strikes.
They hit the ball.
They hit the ball well tonight.
And I think that kind of goes into, this is a guy's first game back. He's trying to get reps in. So he's going to throw strikes. We got to attack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they did.
I think next time around we play the Nats again, Striders on the mound. I don't think it's going to be the same. I don't think they're going to hit him like they did tonight because he's not going to be going out there just trying to get strikes across the plate, get back in a groove. He's going to be settled in and all right, now try to hit me.
And part of that could be that he's trying to ease that hamstring back into that motion too.
Without a doubt,
because your leg is a big part of your pitching mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it may be his arm that's still recovering. Some of it may still be his leg that he's recovering from the last couple of weeks. But either way, he got settled in. He looked good throughout the game as the game went on. He gave up, 6 hits?
Yeah, gave up 6 hits in the first 2 innings.
And that was it.
Yeah.
He ended up going 4 1/3. So he's gonna be fine.
He did give up 4 runs, but
yeah,
is what it is. His first start back. We're not going to hold it against him, like we said. It's kind of one of those. We're probably going to lose this game, but it's just getting the guy back on the mound.
Well, and a lot of that is because a lot of those hits in the first inning were all literally back to back to back to back.
Yeah,
he gave up 4 straight hits.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he got the first batter of the game, and I was like, cool, let's roll with it. Let's go get it. I mean, I'm getting excited. And then he gave up 4 straight hits. So, and I texted you, and I was like, well, this is alarming. And that didn't mean like, oh gosh, like what's wrong with him? It was just like, darn, they're just coming up there and they're ready to swing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hitting the ball. So props to them. They ended up winning tonight's game 5-3. We did see Bummer come in to pitch, and Montero come in to pitch. Bullpen ended up giving up 1 inning in the 3 2/3 that they pitched. But the Nationals got them in 5-3 tonight. So hopefully we'll take the next 2 of the series to get a series win. That's all you can hope for. But hopefully we'll be back in the coming days with another episode.
Yeah, I think we'll try to get an episode done. So final game be Thursday, Washington series.
Mm-hmm.
So try to record it Thursday night and get it out to y'all Thursday night, Friday morning. But we're going to try to get on now that we figured out this whole upload stuff. We're learning as we go. It happens. But now that we're getting it figured out, we're going to try to get them out quicker as soon as we record them, so that way it's a lot more fresher on your brains. You're not listening to an episode that comes out and you're like, well, these games happened like a week ago.
Yeah. So, but looking forward to it. But like Ethan said, we're going to be back in the coming days. So hope to hear from you guys. Like, subscribe, follow, shoot us a DM, comment, let us know what you guys think, and we'll be back shortly.
Appreciate it, guys.
Later.